Welcome to today's special episode of the Parenting for Prevention podcast. I'm Corey Alloway, Defiant SCV's program specialist with the city of Santa Clarita. Today we're talking about a very important topic that really impacts all of our kids here in the Santa Clarita Valley, online safety. From gaming online to communication to exploitation risks, we're going to be sharing tips and tools to help parents guide their children in the digital world both safely and confidently. Joining me today is Agent Victoria Scott, federal law enforcement working with crimes against children, and has dedicated her career to helping families stay informed and protected in the digital world. Victoria, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Corey.
Of course. This is such an important topic. Yes. I'm a parent of 2 young kids, so I know how important this is to me, and I know the community really cares about this. So thank you again.
Thanks.
So for online safety, the first question I have is online safety is one of the biggest concerns for parents today. Why is this topic so important right now?
Well, with the drastic increase in online learning during the COVID epidemic, we definitely saw a huge increase in the number of child exploitation reports submitted to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and that number just has not dropped. We're dealing with our kids being in an environment where they encounter strangers on a daily basis. Now, we as parents, we actively protect our kids out in the real world. We make sure they have helmets. We make sure they have car seats. We know their parents, the parents of their friends, things like this. But online, it's out of our control.
That's such an important reminder. And I mean, it's grown so quickly since COVID. Mm-hmm. So now we just have to really be careful with what our kids are seeing online and how we're doing it. So I appreciate that.
Definitely.
So from your perspective, what are some of the biggest online risks kids and teens are facing today?
Obviously, the ones you've heard of, like sextortion and online solicitation of child pornography. These things get a lot of media attention. There are movies out there. There's exposure to harmful or illegal material, whether that be pornography or access to drugs and alcohol that will be delivered to your door. Then there's also cyberbullying, depression, anxiety, the things that come from too much time online.
So you really just painted this picture about how layered the risks are for online safety, mm-hmm. and really how important it is that we make sure that our families are aware of what we can do to protect them. So this next question is something that I know I really think about every day. I know the community thinks about it, and it's a loaded question, but mm-hmm. how much screen time is too much? And really what do you suggest?
So that's a question I've asked our pediatrician at multiple points in my girls' lives. I have 2 children myself, and I think what really carries through, no matter what research you do, is that it's the quality of what they're doing online and the parent interaction with that online material that counts. Obviously, for kids under 2, they suggest just video chatting with relatives and co-viewing with a parent any educational media. So that 30 minutes of Sesame Street, totally fine for you and your kid. Watch it together. For kids between 2 and 5, they cut it off at about an hour of high quality online time. So again, it's with a parent, you're talking about it. Kids over 6, and this counts for adults, they limit it at 2 hours of recreational screen time. And again, high quality is what matters. I think personally, any time that they're online and we don't know the ins and outs of what they're doing is too much. So cut it off before bedtime. Don't let them go up to their room and close the door with that computer. That's where the screen time becomes a problem.
I love that you mentioned that, because I think it's really important that kids don't have access to it in their own rooms, because as parents, we won't know what's going on. And I believe our involvement is needed for
Yes.
kids to be able to understand.
And it can't take the place of that face-to-face interaction, that physical activity, their sleep. Those are really important for developing children.
Great information. When it comes to helping kids protect their privacy online, what practical steps can parents take, like with passwords, protecting their information? What can parents do now to protect themselves?
The first step is that open dialogue with parents. And if you've come to any of my presentations, I say the same thing every time. That open conversation, that, the younger they are, the more direct and concrete you need to be about what constitutes safety online, what sort of things they might see. What constitutes personally identifying information, the school you go to, your address, your phone number, locations that you might be taking pictures and tagging. Those things are all personal information. Next, as a parent, you need to know all the passwords and all the accounts that your kids have. whether it's the phone code, the passwords they use on social media, gaming accounts. Every social media account should be set to private, and parents should have access to it.
That's really helpful, especially the idea that it works with communication with the parents. Mm-hmm. And that's helpful for that. So we talked about apps. What platforms are out there now that parents need to be aware of?
So I do this for a living, and I can't keep up. There's new stuff that comes out all the time and new ways that bad actors exploit applications that already exist. Obviously, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, those are big ones with our teens and our youth today. They're big, and they allow for direct messaging. They allow for disappearing messages and anonymous profiles, and there's not a lot of vetting that happens to get those accounts. Roblox and Discord, these are very common with our gamers. Again, they have the chat platforms. They have anonymous users. And with Roblox being a crowdsourced program, you can't keep up with all the changes that happen on there. Any messaging applications such as Kik, Telegram, and Signal, these are where our bad actors online tend to direct kids to chat because they know that parents are watching Instagram, parents are watching your text messages. And so they'll direct kids onto Kik, Telegram, and Signal where it's encrypted and password protected and difficult to see. So if you see those on your kid's phone, definitely a conversation needs to be had. Both Apple and Android have some sort of parental control features, whether it's Family Link for Google, screen time for Apple. These are things that you can use. I think even Verizon has some sort of parental controls through the carrier. Those are definitely tools you want to use if you have them. But nothing is as good as a parent supervision. Taking that phone every night, having it in your loving care before they go to bed, sitting down with your kid and talking one-on-one about all these apps that are on their phone, having them show you what they're doing online in a positive way definitely makes a big difference. If you don't have some way to stop kids from downloading applications without your knowledge, whether it's through the ask permission to download on Apple or the same with Family Link, I think you have to ask, you're doing yourself a disservice because you can't see everything that they're downloading. And if I didn't have that function, I wouldn't have known that the period tracker my daughter was using at 11 allowed her to view message boards where they were talking about explicit sexual activity. And all she wanted to do was be excited about her changing body and track that. Or that Google Classroom functions as a browser. So you can create a Google Classroom, save links, and open those links in Google Classroom without it triggering your internet settings or without your screen time stopping it. If you have the Safari browser limited, you can open within Google Classroom. If I didn't get on the phone and play with those things with my child, I wouldn't have known that those happen.
I can't believe how many apps are coming out, how quickly they're coming out. You mentioned 3 or 4 apps that I have never even heard of that I'm now going to research and look into, like the Kik, Signal. I haven't heard of those, but very good information. And it leads me to my next question. I think we were talking about communication with parents, and I'm getting the sense that that's really key. Mm-hmm. So for parents who want to start talking with their kids about online safety, but aren't sure how to do that, how to have that conversation, what's the best way for parents to open that conversation so kids stay engaged rather than shutting down or getting scared of using online?
Right. If you're lucky enough to be starting this conversation before they hit those teen years, before they have their own phone and have their own iPad, you're already set up for success. It's easy to sit down when your kids still want to talk to you and have them show you what they're doing online. Have them show you the applications they're using. Ask them, what's being talked about at school so that you have that daily, weekly check-in with your kids. They're more comfortable to talk about it with you. If you're starting later in the game with teenagers that already don't want to tell you what they've done that day, it's a little bit harder. You just have to remember, brace yourself. It's our job to protect them. It's our job to set boundaries to help keep them safe and to teach them to function in this digital world. And we can't be their best friend at the same time that we're doing that. And you need your village. I mean, it's not an easy conversation to have, but again, sitting down in a positive way and having them show you so that you can set the expectations together, sign a contract that you guys write together, talk about why the rules need to be the way they need to be. So that's not just like storming in there and telling them you're plugging in your phone at 9 p.m. in my room every night before you go to bed, no questions asked. And I know my kid's going to roll her eyes when she hears that, because that is her life.
But I think you said two very important things that I wanted to bring back up. You can't be their best friend. That's hard as a parent, because you want to be their best friend, but you also have to have that control. And I also love that you brought up working with them, like communicating with them to design. 'Cause I know for my kids, they love that independence. They love the control. So it's almost like you're giving them a little bit of control, yet you know what your goal is. And you know that you're setting those boundaries while you're having that conversation with your kid.
Definitely.
Love that. So let's talk a little bit about chat boxes, online gaming, sexual exploitation. What should parents know about these risks?
So I think I'm pretty confident that parents in our, with kids my kids' age or younger, they're pretty familiar with online gaming because it was coming out as we were growing up. But I think now the online piece is that access to people around the world that we didn't have growing up. And it's a wonderful thing. It's not always bad. And I think that, I see the worst of it, obviously, but it's not always a bad thing. We don't always want to stop our kids from communicating with people around the world, but it's those chat boxes and those chat functions that give people access to our kids where they can engage in conversation if we don't have it set to private. Most games do have the option where you can disable the chat, and it can also just as easily be turned back on by the kids on the platform. So you have to be, again, involved in that. Sexual exploitation is a big word. It's a heavy set of words. It is basic. I'm going to read my definition. It's the actual or attempted abuse of a person's vulnerability, power, or trust for sexual purposes, often involving coercion or force. It does not just have to apply to children. Adults can be exploited online as well. But when we're talking about anyone under 16, any images or videos portraying the naked body is considered child pornography, even if it's one teen sending it to another over social media or with the phone. It's considered child pornography. A lot of online predators use Instagram accounts that may appear to be a good-looking high school girl, and she slides right into the DMs of a hormone-driven high school boy, and before you know it, their conversation turns risky. She asks for pictures and he sends them. And then it turns into, I'm going to share all of these images with everybody you know. I'm going to tell the police if you don't XYZ. Usually send me money. It's usually someone in far, far away, but it could be, for more child pornography as well. There's a lot of different ways that bad actors try to exploit our children. Maybe it's an Instagram account that is offering drugs and alcohol or vape pens to our kids, and they're offering to deliver to their home address. For the boys, it may turn out to be a cash transaction and no big deal. And for the girl, they may be brokering in exchange for sex acts when they show up instead of for cash.
That is scary. That's scary to know, and I know it happens.
It does.
Since I've been sharing with the community and part of the people that we're starting to focus on online safety, I've heard many stories that it's happening to my coworker's sister. It's happening to kids that I give assemblies to at 4th and 5th grade. They're able to tell me it's happening out there. And I think it's really important that we remind the community that this does happen. You can't have the mentality of it won't happen to me, because it's out there and it's now common. So what resources or tools can parents use right now to help them keep their kids safe online?
Aside from the parental controls I've already mentioned, there are external parental control programs like Bark for a nominal fee that will offer a very robust set of programs that they can supervise for you. And I don't receive any compensation from Bark, but I tout them every time I talk because it is a very fulsome set of games, social media, everything that it can check for you. Educate yourself about what's out there. It's definitely really important. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already starting. jump onto the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, missingkids.org page, and look for the resources they have available. There's a NetSmarts with a Z program that has videos and resources for kids of all ages, all the way down to elementary school and all the way up to high school. And then you can even request an iGuardian presentation through my agency for me or someone like me to come speak at schools, youth groups, camp groups, like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. I've done all sorts of things, parents, communities, community groups, anything.
That's amazing. That is really amazing that we have that out there, and good to know. So what's one key takeaway that you hope parents walk away with after today's conversation about online safety?
I hope parents realize that it's you that is the best tool for keeping your kids safe online. No app can no parental control can out-connect you. So your influence in your kids' lives is the most important. No subject matter expert like myself can go through all of your kids' applications with you. There's just no one like you as a parent. And so no online friend, and I'm using air quotes, can make your child feel as heard, loved, and safe as you can.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about online safety, Victoria is going to be leading a in-person parent meeting on November 5th. For more information, go to santaclarita.gov/parents and follow us on our Instagram and our Facebook at Defy NSCV. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.